A 67-year-old man woke up feeling absolutely fine. He had no chest pain. He had no shortness of breath. There were no warning signs whatsoever. He felt good, normal. It felt like any other Tuesday morning of his entire life. He got out of bed, did what he always did, walked straight into the bathroom and turned the shower to cold. He did this because he had read somewhere on the internet that a cold shower first thing in the morning was incredibly good for his health, his discipline, and his circulation. He stepped in. 20 minutes later, his wife was frantically calling 911. I was the cardiac surgeon on call that morning. I scrubbed in and I operated on his heart. Thankfully, he made it. But I have seen cases exactly like his, dozens of them, that ended very differently, tragically differently. What happened to him that morning was not a freak accident. It was not bad luck. It was the result of a series of completely avoidable routine mistakes. Mistakes that millions of people over the age of 60 make every single morning without even realizing that they are placing their cardiovascular system under extreme, life-threatening stress. My name is Dr. Evan Carter. I am a cardiothoracic surgeon, and I have spent over 2 decades opening chests, repairing arteries, and holding beating human hearts in my hands. And today I am going to show you exactly what those morning mistakes are, why the first few minutes of your day are statistically the most dangerous of your entire life, and what you must do instead. We are going to deconstruct the biological time bomb sitting in your morning routine. But more importantly, I am going to teach you a simple, zero-cost, 5-minute morning protocol that will defuse that bomb completely. Keep watching because the habit you think is waking you up might actually be the very thing shutting your heart down. Why is the morning so dangerous? Let me give you some numbers first because the statistics are staggering and almost nobody talks about them outside of cardiology conferences. Studies published in the American Heart Journal and confirmed by decades of cardiovascular tracking show that heart attacks are significantly more likely to occur between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. than at any other time of the day or night. We are talking about a roughly 40% higher risk during those specific 4 hours. 40%. That is not a small statistical blip. That is a massive, predictable pattern. Cardiologists have known about this for years. We even have a clinical name for it. We call it the morning surge. And if you are over 60 years old, that morning surge hits your body harder, faster, and with far less margin for error than it did when you were 40. Here is exactly why this happens biologically. While you sleep, your body runs in a kind of low-power conservation mode. Your heart rate slows down. Your blood pressure naturally drops and your nervous system is quiet. It is a biological reset. But the moment you start waking up, often an hour before your eyes even open, your body begins shifting gears hard. It is exactly like flooring the accelerator pedal in a car that has been sitting in a freezing cold garage all night. The engine isn't warm, the oil hasn't circulated properly, and you are already demanding maximum speed. Here is something most people simply do not realize. Your primary stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, do not wait for you to swing your legs out of bed. They start rising steeply before you wake up. Your body is literally preparing you for the demands of the day while you are still dreaming. By the time your alarm clock rings, your cortisol levels are already climbing rapidly, and adrenaline follows right behind. Together, these stress hormones hit your cardiovascular system like a hammer. They do 3 things to your heart almost simultaneously. Your heart rate jumps, your blood pressure rises sharply, your blood vessels physically constrict and tighten. All of that happens in minutes, sometimes in seconds. Now, when you are 35 years old, your cardiovascular system handles that sudden morning surge without breaking a sweat. Your blood vessels are incredibly elastic, your heart muscle is pristine, and the system adapts seamlessly. But after 60, the biological picture is entirely different. Your vessel walls are stiffer. The entire system does not adapt nearly as fast. You may have arterial plaque built up inside your coronary arteries, plaque that you don't even know exists because you feel completely fine on a daily basis. When that massive hormonal wave hits a stiffened blood vessel containing a vulnerable piece of plaque, the sheer physical force of that pressure spike can crack the plaque wide open. A cracked plaque immediately triggers your body's clotting response. And a blood clot forming inside a coronary artery is the exact definition of a heart attack. That is not a worst-case scenario. That is the exact physiological mechanism. That is what I am looking at on the operating table. Before you have even poured your first cup of coffee, Your heart is already working significantly harder than it was an hour ago. But this hormonal surge is only the first piece of the puzzle. What you choose to do in the first 5 minutes after opening your eyes either helps your heart manage this massive load, or it makes it dramatically, fatally worse. And the very first mistake begins with the liquid flowing through your veins. What is happening to your blood while you sleep? The answer to that question is the second hidden danger of your morning. Before we uncover this next critical danger, I want you to stop and think about your own routine. I want you to tell me honestly in the comments below right now. Do you know what your blood pressure is first thing in the morning? Have you ever measured it within 10 minutes of waking up? Tell me below. Because if you don't know that number, you are flying blind during the most dangerous hours of your day. Let's talk about hydration. This is a point that surprises people every single time I bring it up in my clinic. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep, you are mildly dehydrated, every single morning. There are no exceptions to this rule. You have not had a single drop of water all night, but you have been continuously exhaling moisture with every single breath, and losing water through subtle perspiration. The biological result? By the time morning arrives, your blood is measurably thicker and more viscous than it was the night before. Think of your cardiovascular system like a plumbing network. Imagine your heart is a mechanical pump, and your blood vessels are the pipes. When the fluid running through those pipes is thin, clear, and flowing freely, the pump does not have to work very hard to move it. But when that fluid thickens, when it becomes more like sludge than water, the pump has to push dramatically harder just to move the exact same volume of fluid. Every single beat requires more effort. The resistance against the walls of your arteries increases. But thicker blood doesn't just make the heart muscle work harder, it also clots much more easily. The risk of a thrombus, a dangerous blood clot, is significantly elevated in the morning hours. Peer-reviewed research confirms that your body's internal clotting factors are at their absolute highest activity levels in the early morning. This timing is not a coincidence. This is a primary reason why strokes and heart attacks cluster so heavily in that 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. window. You have the morning hormone surge pushing your blood pressure up. You have thicker, highly viscous blood that is prone to clotting, and you have stiffer, aging blood vessels. It is a triple threat hitting any heart over 60 all at the exact same moment. The fix for this is so simple that it is almost embarrassing, yet almost nobody does it consistently. You need a glass of room temperature water before you do absolutely anything else. Before your coffee, before your morning medications, before you check your phone or read the news. Hydrate first. It is one of the lowest effort, highest impact habits you can possibly build. It immediately begins thinning the blood, reducing the workload on the heart, and dropping the clotting risk. But even if you drink that water, there is a modern trend, a supposedly healthy habit, that can undo all of it in seconds. And it is exactly what put the 67-year-old man I mentioned earlier onto my operating table. Let me be brutally honest with you about the cold shower trend. This trend has exploded across the internet and social media over the last few years. You see videos of healthy 30-year-olds jumping into ice baths at 5 a.m., talking endlessly about mental toughness, dopamine resets, and circulatory discipline. Cold exposure does have real physiological benefits. I will not deny the science behind that. But here is the critical, life-saving context that those internet videos never, ever mention. Timing matters enormously, and age changes the rules entirely. For anyone over the age of 60, a cold shower first thing in the morning is a severe, potentially lethal cardiac stressor. Here is exactly what happens inside your body. The moment freezing cold water hits your skin, your nervous system triggers something called the cold shock response. Your body senses a sudden, extreme drop in external temperature and immediately assumes you are in a survival situation. To protect your core organs and preserve body heat, the blood vessels near the surface of your skin constrict instantly and violently. When all those peripheral vessels clamp shut, the blood has nowhere to go but inward. Your heart rate spikes. Your blood pressure shoots up. We are talking about a sudden, violent systolic pressure jump of 20, sometimes 30 points in a matter of seconds. That is a massive cardiovascular shock. Now remember the biological baseline we established for the morning. Your stress hormones are already peaking. Your blood is already thicker and more prone to clotting. Your baseline blood pressure is already elevated from the morning surge. And now you are dropping a sudden, violent vascular constriction right on top of all of that. For a healthy, elastic 30-year-old cardiovascular system, the body handles the shock. For a 65-year-old body with any degree of arterial stiffness or hidden plaque, that massive pressure spike can be the final trigger. It can crack a vulnerable plaque. It can cause a severe coronary artery spasm. It can provoke a lethal electrical arrhythmia. The 67-year-old gentleman I told you about at the beginning of this video, the cold shower was his exact trigger. His arteries were not in terrible shape, but they were not in perfect shape either. That combination, the natural morning hormonal surge, the thick dehydrated blood, and the violent cold shock response, was simply too much pressure for his vessel walls to handle. So what do I recommend as a cardiac surgeon? Start your morning shower warm, around 37 degrees Celsius, which is your natural body temperature. Let your body ease into the transition of waking up. If you genuinely love the feeling of cold water, save it for the final 30 seconds of your shower. By that point, your blood vessels have had time to dilate from the warm water, your morning blood pressure has stabilized slightly, and the cold shock response will be far less severe. But long before you even make it to the shower, there is a mechanical mistake you are probably making the very second your alarm clock rings. How quickly do you go from lying down to standing up? The answer could be the difference between a normal morning and a fractured hip. How do you get out of bed in the morning? Be honest. Most people go from perfectly horizontal to perfectly vertical in about 2 seconds. The alarm goes off and they are up, feet on the floor, moving toward the bathroom. I understand you have a routine and things to do, but that rapid physical transition is highly problematic for an aging heart. Here is the basic physics and physiology of standing up. When you are lying flat in bed all night, your blood volume is distributed relatively evenly throughout your entire body. The heart does not have to fight gravity to push blood to your brain. The very moment you stand up, gravity instantly pulls a significant volume of your blood downward, pooling it toward your legs and your abdomen. To prevent you from passing out, your cardiovascular system has to respond in milliseconds. Your blood vessels must constrict rapidly, and your heart rate must increase instantly to maintain adequate blood pressure to pump blood back up to your brain. In a young person, this reflex is lightning fast and flawlessly efficient. But in older adults, that specific autonomic reflex slows down. The blood vessels simply do not respond as quickly to the signal. We call this delayed response orthostatic hypotension. Your blood pressure can drop 15, 20, sometimes 30 points within seconds of standing up. You know the feeling. It's that dizziness, that sudden lightheadedness, that gray, foggy feeling when you stand up too fast. Sound familiar? A vast majority of people over 60 experience this regularly and just assume it is a normal part of getting older. It is not normal. It is a blaring warning signal from your cardiovascular system, and the consequences go far beyond temporary discomfort. Orthostatic hypotension is one of the leading causes of severe falls in older adults. A bad fall at 65 or 70 is not a minor event. It can start a life-threatening chain of complications. But beyond the fall risk, there is a hidden cardiac danger. For someone with a vulnerable heart condition, that sudden severe drop in blood pressure forces the heart to panic and compensate aggressively. The heart spikes its rate and output in seconds to try and catch up. In a fragile heart, that violent compensatory spike can actually trigger an arrhythmia. In severe cases, it can precipitate a full cardiac event right there in the bedroom. The solution to this costs absolutely nothing, and it requires no prescription. It simply requires 10 extra seconds of your time. When you wake up, do not stand up immediately. Roll to your side, push yourself up slowly, and sit on the edge of your bed for 1 full minute. Let your feet hang. Rotate your ankles. Let gravity do its work gradually. Let your blood vessels adjust and your blood pressure stabilize before your heart has to go from 0 to 60. 10 seconds lying awake, 30 to 60 seconds sitting, and then stand up slowly. That tiny transition can prevent a fall, prevent an arrhythmia, and save you from an emergency room visit. Now, while you are sitting on the edge of that bed, many of you are preparing to walk to the kitchen to take your morning medications. And there is a specific pill millions of seniors take every morning that silently destabilizes the heart's electrical rhythm. Are you taking it? Before I reveal exactly which medication is draining the essential minerals from your heart, and before I give you the complete 5-minute morning protocol, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Every single week, I bring you the honest, evidence-based medical truths that the traditional healthcare system simply does not have the time to explain to you. I decipher the complex biology so you can protect yourself. Subscribe so you can take control of your cardiovascular health before you ever need my operating table. Now let's talk about the pill bottle in your bathroom cabinet. Are you currently taking a blood pressure medication known as a diuretic, sometimes commonly called a water pill? If the answer is yes, there is a crucial biochemical trade-off your doctor may not have thoroughly explained, and you absolutely need to know about it. Diuretics are highly effective drugs. They work by forcing your kidneys to flush excess fluid and sodium from your body. When you reduce the total fluid volume in your bloodstream, you reduce the pressure against the arterial walls. They are widely prescribed and they save lives. But here is the dangerous catch. When your kidneys flush out that fluid, they are not just flushing out water and sodium. They are simultaneously flushing out essential minerals. Specifically, they flush out magnesium. Magnesium is not a minor, optional player in your body. It is the master regulator of the electrical signals that control your heartbeat. It keeps the rhythm steady. It acts as the biological off switch that helps the heart muscle relax properly between every single beat. When your magnesium levels drop quietly over months of taking a diuretic, the heart becomes electrically unstable. The rhythm can become erratic. You might experience palpitations, skipped beats, or far more serious arrhythmias like atrial fibrillation. And this can happen with absolutely no obvious warning signs. Because the morning is already the time when your heart is under the greatest physiological stress, thanks to the cortisol surge, the thick blood, and the positional changes. A magnesium deficiency hits your heart hardest right at that exact moment. I have seen patients in my clinic suffering from terrifying morning arrhythmias that completely resolved once we simply identified and corrected a hidden magnesium deficiency. If you are on a diuretic, do not stop taking it. But at your very next appointment, ask your doctor to run a simple blood test to check your magnesium levels. It takes 2 minutes, and that specific piece of information could be genuinely invaluable for protecting your heart's electrical system. At this point, I know exactly what some of you are thinking. Dr. Carter, I avoid all of these problems because I am active. I wake up at 6 a.m. and go straight into my rigorous morning workout. My doctor told me exercise is good for my heart. Your doctor is absolutely right. Exercise is one of the greatest things you can do for your cardiovascular health at any age. Full stop. But, and this is a massive life-saving but, the timing and the intensity of that exercise in the morning matter infinitely more than most people realize. Think about everything we have just established. In the early morning, your cortisol is peaking. Your baseline blood pressure is elevated. Your blood is viscous and thick. And your heart is already working harder than usual just to manage the transition from sleep. Now, imagine jumping straight out of bed, putting on your shoes, and launching directly into a vigorous, high-intensity workout in that state. No warm-up, just immediate, heavy exertion. Your heart rate surges violently on top of an already elevated morning baseline. Your blood pressure climbs even higher, and your coronary arteries, which are already slightly constricted from the morning hormonal surge, are suddenly being ordered to deliver dramatically more oxygen-rich blood to a heavily working heart muscle. Research published in the medical journal Circulation found that vigorous physical exertion in the early morning carries a meaningfully higher risk of triggering a sudden cardiac event in adults over the age of 60 compared to exercising later in the day. This does not mean you should stop exercising in the morning. Absolutely not. It means you must not sprint before you walk. Literally. You must give your cardiovascular system 20 to 30 full minutes to wake up, hydrate, and stabilize its pressure before you demand strenuous effort from it. A gentle morning walk is perfect. Slow, deliberate stretching is perfect. Save the heavy lifting, the intense cycling, or the vigorous exertion for after your body has had the time to shift properly and safely into its active metabolic mode. So we have deconstructed the dangers. You now understand the profound risks of the morning surge, the dehydration trap, the cold shock, orthostatic hypotension, magnesium depletion, and sudden exertion. Knowledge without action is just anxiety, and I am not here to make you anxious. I am here to give you an armor-plated plan. This is what I call the 5-minute morning protocol. It requires no equipment. It costs absolutely $0, and it provides meaningful, scientifically backed cardiovascular protection every single morning of your life. Here's exactly how you will wake up tomorrow. Minute 1. Conscious waking. When your alarm goes off, do not move your body yet. Stay exactly where you are lying down. Take 3 slow, deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. This specific breathing pattern immediately activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the calming branch of your biology, to actively counteract that massive cortisol surge before it peaks. Just 3 breaths. It is one of the most powerful tools for cardiovascular protection, and it costs nothing. Minute 2. Hydrate before you stand. Keep a full glass of room temperature water on your nightstand tonight. Before your feet ever touch the floor, sit up slightly and drink the entire glass. This immediately begins thinning your blood, drastically reduces the morning clotting risk, and gives your cardiovascular system the fluid volume it desperately needs to work efficiently. Minute 3. Sit before you stand. Roll to your side, push yourself up slowly, and sit on the edge of the bed. Do not rush this. While sitting, gently rotate your ankles in circles, 5 times clockwise, 5 times counterclockwise. This simple movement activates the muscle pump in your calves, actively pushing pooled blood back up toward your heart and brain, preventing that dizzying drop in pressure. Minute 4. Gentle movement. While still sitting, slowly roll your neck from side to side. Shrug your shoulders up and down. Gently stretch your arms above your head. You are waking up your muscles gradually, increasing circulation safely, and giving your heart rate a chance to rise at a pace it can actually manage without panic. Minute 5. Stand slowly. Place both feet flat and firmly on the floor. Press through your legs and rise to a standing position at exactly half your normal speed. Stand perfectly still for 10 full seconds before you take your first step toward the bathroom. Let your blood pressure confirm its new position and stabilize before you demand movement. 5 minutes. That is the entire protocol. And on the days when you do this, your heart starts the day protected, prepared, and supported, not ambushed. I want you to sit with this thought for a moment. Everything I have described today, the sudden standing, the cold water, the dehydration, none of it is exotic. None of it is rare. This is happening in bedrooms across America every single morning to people who feel completely fine, who have absolutely no idea the stress they are placing on their aging arteries. After a career spanning thousands of surgeries, the cases that haunt me are not the complex, unavoidable genetic failures. They are the completely preventable ones. The 71-year-old grandfather who stepped into a cold shower and never stepped back out. The 68-year-old retired teacher who suffered a cardiac event just getting out of bed too fast on a Wednesday. These were not sick people. They were people who simply did not know what I am telling you right now. The morning danger zone is real. The clinical research is entirely unambiguous, but it is also one of the most highly manageable risks in all of cardiovascular medicine. Unlike a genetic predisposition you cannot change, your morning routine is a choice you make every single day. You can change it today, this afternoon, before tomorrow's alarm clock ever rings. You don't need a new prescription. You don't need surgery. You need 5 minutes, and you need the information you now possess. Please remember, everything I have shared today is general educational information based on published cardiovascular research and my clinical experience as a surgeon. It is not a replacement for personalized medical advice. Your situation is unique. Always consult your personal physician before changing any medication, supplement, or rigorous exercise routine. Take care of your heart. It has been working for you every single minute of every single day without ever asking for anything in return. Give it 5 good minutes in the morning. It is a fair trade, and it starts tomorrow. I'm Dr. Evan Carter. I will see you in the next video.